Salam and hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Journey and Reality. Throughout Ramadan, a series of short videos will be released every couple of days. I hope that it leaves you guys with some sort of insight, guidance, or wisdom. I hope you all enjoy. Been a kind of a heated discussion between both men and women regarding career ambitions and traditional family roles. I think many women now are pursuing their passions and they're going after their careers. So I want to first ask this, and then maybe we can lead to further questions. From a practical perspective in our society right now that aligns with Islamic beliefs, how should a woman go about it? Should a woman prioritize her career in her younger years and then pursue marriage later on? Or should she seek marriage earlier on and grow alongside her partner? And I want to disregard the fact that, women have different desires. Some women want to get married earlier on and some want to go after career. But from a practical perspective, what would be the best decision to make?
No, alhamdulillah. It's an amazing question because it's a very relevant question, and there's a lot of girls who struggle with this, and it hurts me as I have a daughter. It saddens me that this whole question has to exist at all. And I say that one is not mutually exclusive of the other.
Yeah.
And that's important to remember, is that firstly, let's look at it this way. There is a lot of pressure there always has been. It's a shame to me. There's always been this pressure on young ladies to do certain things. Again, as a father who loves my daughter very much, and I would do anything for her, I don't want her to have these pressures. And I'm sure your father feels the same way, and so forth. Is that why are we pushing girls into certain things? Why aren't we just allowing things to happen? Okay, girls come to me, and because of that pressure, and they're 25, and they're like, "Do you think something's wrong with me that I don't think about men?" I'm like, "No, that's very normal." Okay, and when it happens, it's gonna happen. Just let it be. Just let it come naturally. There's nothing you have to force yourself into, and we should stop forcing girls into these thoughts. So, if a girl is excited about studying and she's very interested in being a scholar and learning or creating art or doing whatever that her passion is, and she's not thinking about marriage, there is nothing wrong with that. And we have to, as Muslims, you have to get out of that mindset. Okay, that's very important. So number two, we come back to, okay, what if a girl wants to get married? And so that's where your question is coming to. Okay, so a girl is interested in having a relationship, okay, and she'd like to have a family. So then she's conflicted, and I say these are not mutually exclusive concepts. So I tell young ladies when I'm counseling them about marriage, I say, this is very important that you have this discussion with the man that you're considering marrying, okay? You should tell him, and you should be very concerned if the man that you're talking to does not support you being educated. Okay, because when we go back to our examples as Muslims, who are the female examples? We look at Khadija, we look at Salama, we look at, of course, the great Aisha. In specific, Aisha was one of the foremost scholars in Islam, the history of Islam, okay? The senior companions of the Prophet ﷺ that spent time with him, that they were considered the scholars of that era. They said when we had a problem that we couldn't figure out, we went to Aisha. She was like the Supreme Court judge. She was the one that she's not going to deal with nonsense, but when there's really big problems, they went to her because that's how knowledgeable she was. That's our example. And so when people talk about the Prophet ﷺ, when he married her, she was much younger. And those 9 years that he spent with her in marriage, she was learning the whole time. And he was teaching her. And he encouraged her to learn, and he wanted her to learn. And so as a result, she memorized a huge amount of hadith. She's number 3 in terms of narration of hadith. So number 1, Abu Hurairah, special case. Number 2, Abdullah ibn Umar, then Aisha. How much of our religion comes from this woman? And that's, again, this is how the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged, he wanted her to learn. So a man who is talking to his potential wife and he's not interested in her learning, there's a problem there. That's a red flag right away, okay? So any man should say, you know what? I want you to learn, okay? Whatever it is that you care about. So it doesn't, and again, we have this fixation today on college certificates and so forth as being education. That's not necessarily that. So you should be encouraged to learn, and your husband, your future husband, should encourage you to learn irrespective of how that learning process is.
Okay, so what would you say to if the career of a woman comes and causes problems between the relationship. Because I feel like if both the man and woman have a career, sometimes it might be demanding on both partners, right? If you're working 8-hour shifts, you come home, maybe you don't have time to take care of the home and stuff like that. So do you think the couple would need to find balance within the relationship, or it's just something that like you think naturally is just going to cause conflict?
Any of that conflict, it just means that we didn't do our homework, okay? So that means that these are concepts that should have been discussed beforehand. Now, again, some men have the wrong idea that marriage means when I'm going to get home from work, I'm going to sit in my recliner and turn on the TV, and the woman's going to come and take off my shoes and serve me dinner. That's not how Islam works.
Well, would that be ideal for them?
But it's not, there's this social media thing going around where there's this guy who's saying, I can't wait to get married so my 2 wives can fight over who's going to wake me up for Fajr. And he got slapped big time by everybody. Oh, okay, like you really don't understand how this works.
Yeah, I don't think that works in this day and age now.
So we look at, again, so once the Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha was asked, she said, what was the conduct of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at home? And she said, kana fi khidmati ahlihi. He was in the service of his family. Okay, so there has to be a balance here. Okay, so it doesn't mean that the woman's going to sit on the couch and the man's going to do everything. No, it means that it's a shared responsibility. Okay, and so there has to be that complementary balance. And so the woman might say, you know what? I'm going to do this and you're going to do that. And that's going to be your kind of deal and this is going to be my deal. And this is my chore, this is your chore. There is that division of labor, okay?
Yeah. I think that many people going into relationships, I think they need to have a discussion first, especially if both of them have careers and they want to pursue that further on, then I think they need to find balance within one another because I feel like it's causing, like when I watch like YouTube videos with the men and women arguing over this conversation, it's like some men prefer, I want my wife to just be at home. And it's nice that he says that because then he's looking for a wife like that and that's what he should go with. I don't think he should be looking for a woman that is career oriented. And I think that's where the difficulty comes in because I think sometimes people want certain things and then they don't want it once they're in it. But yeah, I definitely think that it's a conversation that needs to be had between both partners because honestly, I thought you were going to say something along the lines of, yeah, maybe once a woman gets married, she should give up her career. But it was nice to hear you say it should be a discussion between the husband and wife beforehand and that it should be pushed for women to go after their education just because I think that it's very empowering. It's actually interesting because my mom, she got married and very traditional lifestyle, but I feel like there are so many passions that she has and she sacrificed and compromised that for the sake of our well-being. And it makes me happy, of course, that she did such an amazing job, but at the same time it makes me really sad because my mom had to compromise so much just so that we could go after our dreams. And that's why I brought it up because I see so many women that went the traditional route, and that's beautiful. I think it's a great way if that's what you're looking for. But for the people that didn't choose that and they went into it, and I see the little girl in them, and I look at them and I'm like, I wish they had the chance that I had. And yeah, so I think it's a very deeply complex issue, and I think it's nice to see that more women are going after their passions, and if marriage comes, they're open to it.
So you brought on a very important point that we're all different, okay? There's one of my favorite books. I listened to it on audio. It's Adam Carolla. He's a comedian. His book is called Not Taco Bell Material. And so he basically talks about when he was 15 years old, he went and he applied at a Taco Bell and they refused him. So he said, I'm not even Taco Bell material. So the point is that some people are university material. Okay, some people are, so it depends. Everybody's a little bit different. And I talk to a lot of parents and I say, we all have this unfortunate, it's a false image of, I want my kid to get this degree and that degree. Okay, that your child has their own kind of leanings. And my son, as an example, I've learned very early that he's not college material. He doesn't, that's not where, no, it's not because he's extremely intelligent. It's not that he's stupid or that he has any mental incapacity.
He's just not passionate about it.
He's just not passionate. Exactly. That's not his area, but he's very passionate about video. He loves that. And so the moment that I started talking about, he just showed me all these amazing things, and he amazes me till today with some of the things that he does. And so it's important to kind of let people be who they are. So are there girls that say, you know what, my dream is to be a mom. Okay, that's what I want to do. Okay, what's wrong with
And
that?
to add to that, I feel like society also downplays the
Yes.
role of being a mother.
Yes.
I will say, I think the hardest job in this world is being a mother.
Absolutely.
And I feel like society sees it as, oh, you're just a mother? No, it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a blessed thing to be a mother. And
100%.
so I think that, like you said, the point of everyone is different. Everyone has different passions. And I think that you have to let people grow into themselves and learn about themselves. Yeah.
Be who they are.
I agree with
and
that.
are there some people who, so we just talked about not Taco Bell material, are there some people who maybe aren't motherhood material? Yeah. There's some people who are really good at their careers, but maybe they're not going to be the greatest mothers. And that's okay. That's completely okay. And again, it depends on the husband, how he views his life, okay? So some husbands are okay with that, and some people are not. And then just for a moment, just to rewind to what you said about your mother and her passions and things like that, it's really important that we remember that it's actually both parents that have to sacrifice.
Of course.
There's actually a
My dad
hadith.
too.
Yeah, there's a hadith which not a lot of people know. And it's a beautiful hadith. To me, as a father, it's a very profound hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ is, one day he's hugging Hassan or Hussein, his grandchildren. And he says, Al-walid mabkhala mahzana. Okay, so he says that the father, okay, when he's hugging his kids, will become a coward, will become a miser. So what does that mean, though? So when we're trying to understand these things, like, okay, what do you mean the dad is a coward or the dad is a miser and he doesn't want to spend? And the last one, mahzana, it means like he's sad, okay, like he's depressed. So it means that this is the effect that children have on fathers, okay? Not in a negative way. This is actually a hadith, when you hear it, it should make you really appreciate and love your dad a lot. Because the concept is that, okay, so how does it work? When we're young, men, okay, when we're young, we want to ride motorcycles, we want to jump out of airplanes, we want to do all these crazy things. That's what guys are, and testosterone and the rush and all that, okay? The minute you have a child, you're like, no, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to be there. If I do that and I get hurt, then who's gonna raise the kid?
No, of
And
course.
so all of a sudden, then you start being very cautious, okay? The guy who is driving a sports car is now driving a minivan, okay? Because he wants, it's the safety features. And I want to keep everybody safe. So he changes, okay? And he changes why? Because he loves his children. Why does he become a miser? Because, and this is something that I saw in my own father, before he passed away, I remember was at home, and I saw these slippers that he was wearing that were like, literally, they should have been thrown in the garbage like 3 years before, okay? And I kept saying to him, Dad, why are you wearing it? He's like, oh, it's good, I'm fine with it. And then when he passed away, and then I got to see his finances, I was really hurt. And I was like, his finances were phenomenal. And I was like, he had so much money, why didn't he just buy like good things?
Yeah.
Because he was thinking, I'm okay with this, but I want to save that money for my kid. I want to make sure that they have it. I want to make sure that my grandkids have something. And that's, again, what fathers do. So you find fathers walking around with holes in their socks, and maybe their pants are really old, and they should probably get new ones. But they're like, you know what? It's good. I'm all right. I don't really care.
No,
Who am I
of
trying to
course.
impress?
Of course.
More important for my kids. And then the last one, the mahzana, the depression, is because when you see your kids going through like a tough experience, it hurts you. It breaks your heart. And that's the thing, is that we don't see that because dads aren't the emotional type. You're not going to necessarily see your dad crying.
No.
But internally, or maybe when you're not looking, they are.
Yeah.
They're hurt because they want to see you be better. And that's what I want. I'm so happy when I see every one of my kids that they're doing something way better than me. I told my daughter all the time, I said, you know what? You are so far ahead of me. Like when I was your age, like I was so far behind. You are doing so much. I have the greatest expectations of you. And again, that's what fathers are. And so again, we all sacrifice. And so there's so many things that maybe I would have done had I not had kids. And that doesn't mean that I regret. No, I'm so happy that I have my children. And the children are the light of my life, much more than any of the things that I was going to pursue otherwise, career-wise or anything else. And I think mothers are like that too. Mothers are saying, you know what? I'm so happy that I made that decision. And I think it's important that talking about that is that if you're going to be a mother or if you're going to be a father, you're going to be parents, that you recognize that is a job. And that requires time. There's too many people trying to juggle too many things. Talk about the supermom who's working the 40-hour week, and she works out, and she does the cooking, and she tries to be a mom. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, and they fail. At the end of the day, the children, they lose. And so we have to be there for them. And that's why you're right. The most important job, the most important thing is mother. if the mother is present and she's watching over those kids and she's making sure, because that's the very first school and that's the most important school, is the mother. And so, again, we have to have that conversation. So when people go into that decision, I'm going to get married, okay, I want to have kids, okay, so maybe the girl says, you know what, I just want to explore, but then I really want to be at home. I don't want to be out and working and have all these different obligations, but I just like to have a few years just to go out there and live my dreams. But then after that, this is what I want. Okay, that's fine. But if a woman says, you know what, I don't really feel like being a mother. I really feel like I can contribute more to the world with the science that I'm doing because I'm the research I'm doing. Okay, if the guy's okay with that, then that's fine. But we just have to have that conversation.
Yeah, no, I forgot to mention my dad, but I do want to just say I mentioned my mom in that specific case because we were talking about women.
Sure.
I do want to ask a follow-up question to that. Do you think parents should sacrifice that much for their children? I feel like sometimes they overdo it. I don't think we deserve it that much. I know that what the compromises and sacrifices that my parents made for me, it's incredible. I appreciate it so much, but I wish they did that for themselves. I wish they would take some time to go after their own happinesses and after their own passions, because I don't know, it just makes me sad now. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think once they understand that's like they took on the job of being a mother and father, I think that's what makes them happy.
Tell them, you need to pursue this, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's something that you won't understand until you have kids, because then it's just I couldn't understand it before. But like I said, now, like I said, whatever they want from me, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, my dad sometimes, he loves movies, and so I get busy with work, and sometimes let's go watch a movie or something like that. And I'm like, oh, like I'm so busy, I can't, this and that. But I feel so bad because I'm like, wow, he really makes the effort to spend time with us. You know what's interesting? When I was younger, my dad used to walk me to class every day, and I'd be so embarrassed. I'd be like, Dad, please get away from me. Can you not walk me to school? This is so embarrassing. But as I got older, I was like, wow, I appreciate those moments so much because those are the moments that I'll never forget, and they mean a lot to me. I think being a parent is such a beautiful thing, and it's hard.
It is, and I would tell you, because it's something that you can't ever get back when you lose it. When they're gone, you can't get it back.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. So that's why I would say make sure you make the time for them. So if they want to do that, if they want to go someplace, make the time for it.
Yeah, that's what I've told
myself. Put aside
myself.
everything else, because you will be glad that you did.
Yeah, of course. I do want to move